I always thought Christmas Eve was supposed to be magical. Warm lights, cinnamon in the air, family laughing around the table. But last year, mine ended with cold metal around my wrists. My name is Stella Parker, and on Christmas Eve, my own sister arrested me. One moment, I was setting the table. The next, police sirens exploded outside our house, flashing red and blue through the falling snow. Everyone rushed to the window. And there she was, Officer Olivia Parker, my sister, my best friend, the person I trusted most. She stepped inside, expression carved from stone, and said the words that shattered my world. "Stella Parker, you're under arrest." My mother screamed, my father went pale, and as neighbors filmed me being dragged away, I truly believed my life was over. I had no idea the homeless man I once helped was about to walk into court and expose everything. Christmas Eve in our Denver home always felt like a warm blanket, soft lights, my mom humming old holiday songs, the smell of roasted turkey drifting through every room. I was arranging cinnamon cookies on a tray when I sensed something was wrong. Dad kept glancing at his phone. Mom kept pacing. And Olivia, usually the first to arrive, still hadn't shown up. I tried to ignore the unease settling in my chest, until sirens screamed outside. Everyone froze. A police SUV slid to a stop in our driveway, lights flashing violently across the snow. My aunt gasped. My little cousins ran to the window. Mom whispered, voice trembling, Why would Olivia arrive like that?" Before anyone could answer, the front door swung open. Olivia stepped in, uniform crisp, boots wet with snow, jaw tight like carved stone. Behind her were two officers. She didn't smile. She didn't say, "Merry Christmas." Instead, she looked straight at me. "Stella Parker," she said. "We received an anonymous tip that you're in possession of illegal substances. We need to conduct a search." The room exploded in confusion. "Olivia, what are you talking about?" I cried. "This isn't funny." She cut me off with a cold stare. "Mom, step aside. Let me do my job." Her officers rushed past us, heading straight for my car outside. Mom grabbed Olivia's arm. Her voice cracked. "Honey, your sister would never." Olivia yanked her arm away, louder this time. "Mom, don't interfere." Seconds later, a shout came from the driveway. "Ma'am, we found something." Everyone spilled outside into the freezing air. The officer held up small plastic packets, white powder glittering cruelly under the flashlight. Mom screamed. Dad stepped back like I was toxic. Relatives stared as if they didn't know me. My heart collapsed in my chest. "That's not mine," I yelled, voice shaking. "Olivia, you know that's not mine." But she didn't even look at me. She reached for her handcuffs. Her voice was the coldest I had ever heard. "Stella Parker, you're under arrest." The cuffs clicked shut, and my entire Christmas shattered in an instant. The moment the cuffs tightened around my wrists, the world blurred into a nightmare. Flashlights, whispers, cold air cutting through my coat. Neighbors stepped onto their porches, phones raised like vultures circling fresh prey. Kids pointed. Someone whispered loud enough for me to hear, "That's Olivia's sister." Arrested? I felt my chest cave in. As the officers pushed me toward the police car, Mom lunged forward, sobbing. "Please." "She didn't do anything, Stella, baby, hang on." But Dad held her back. He didn't try to reach me. He didn't shout for Olivia to stop. He didn't even look at me. He just murmured, almost relieved, "Let the law handle it, Camila." I couldn't breathe. "Dad?" I choked out. "You're not even going to defend me?" He didn't answer. The back door of the police SUV slammed shut behind me. As we pulled away from the house, I saw Mom collapse into the snow, screaming my name, while Olivia stood there, expression blank, like none of this mattered. Inside the station, cold, fluorescent lights, echoing footsteps, doors slamming. They took my fingerprints, my belongings, my dignity. An officer shoved me into a holding cell, a concrete box with a metal bench and a toilet bolted to the wall. The air smelled like bleach and old tears. I tried to steady my breathing, but my thoughts kept spiraling. Who would frame me? Why did Olivia believe it instantly? Why wasn't Dad fighting for me? Hours crawled by. Or maybe minutes. Time didn't exist in that frozen hell. My hands trembled so badly I had to sit on them. Every sound from the buzzing lights to the distant yelling of other inmates made me flinch. I kept replaying the moment in my head. Olivia's cold stare. Dad stepping back. Mom screaming. And that officer calling out, "We found something." No, no, it didn't make sense. I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't even know anyone involved with drugs. This was wrong. This was a trap. Dragged to interrogation. Around 3 a.m., the cell doors screeched open. 2 detectives stood there, one tall with a thick beard, the other thin with glasses too big for his face. "Stella Parker," the bearded one grunted. "Get up. Interrogation." They marched me down a hallway that felt colder than the cell. The interrogation room had 1 metal table, 2 chairs, and a camera blinking red in the corner. They threw the drug packets onto the table like trophies. "Detective Miles, let's make this simple. Who are you working with?" "Me. I told your officers I didn't do anything. Someone planted those." "Detective Crane, everyone says that." I clenched my fists. "I'm telling the truth. Ask my sister, ask Olivia, she knows me." The detectives exchanged a look. A mocking one. "Detective Miles, your sister is the one who arrested you." He leaned closer. "Should we believe you, or the decorated officer on track for promotion?" His words sliced through me. I felt sick. Betrayed. Alone. And then she walked in. The door opened. Olivia stepped inside. Her uniform still perfect. Her expression still cold. For a moment, hope flickered in my chest. "Liv, please. You know I'd never—" She cut me off. "Stella, stop lying, confess. You'll get a lighter sentence." My heart fractured. "How can you say that? I'm your sister." She didn't blink. "The evidence is clear." When she turned and walked out, something inside me shattered completely. The detectives continued their barrage of questions, but their voices faded into static. All I could think was, my sister abandoned me. My family abandoned me. I have no one. When they finally dragged me back to the cell, I collapsed onto the metal bench. I wrapped my arms around myself. And for the first time in years, I cried until my throat burned. Because deep down, I felt something terrifying. Someone close to me wanted me destroyed, and Olivia was helping them do it. The next morning, a guard slammed open my cell door. "Visitors." My heart jumped. "Mom." It had to be Mom. They led me into a glass-partitioned visitation room. My hands shook as I picked up the phone. And then I saw her. Mom sat on the other side, eyes swollen, tissue twisted in her fist. Beside her was Dad. He sat stiff and emotionless, like this was a business meeting and not his daughter's life falling apart. I lifted the phone quickly. Mom, I didn't do this. Please, you have to believe me." Her voice trembled. "I do, Stella. I do. I know my daughter. I'll get a lawyer." But Dad snatched the phone from her hand. His jaw was tight, his tone sharp enough to cut through bone. "Stella, stop this." I froze. The air knocked from my chest. "Dad, what are you talking about?" He leaned closer, voice cold, controlled. "You've been a burden long enough. Now you've disgraced this family." My pulse stopped. "A burden?" he continued. "Confess. End this. Don't drag us deeper into shame." My throat closed. I felt like the floor dissolved beneath me. Mom reached for the phone again, crying. "Vincent, please stop, she needs us." He turned to her sharply. "No. She needs to take responsibility for ruining this family." "Oh." I slammed my palm against the glass. "Are you winning this family? I'm the one who was framed." Dad scoffed. "Your sister is an officer. She knows what she's doing." That sentence felt like a punch straight to my heart. "So you're taking her side?" I whispered. He didn't even hesitate. "Yes," Mom gasped softly. I felt my chest split open. "Dad, how can you believe I'd ever do something like this?" He just stared at me with cold eyes, the eyes of a stranger. "Because you've always been weak, Stella. Olivia is the strong one. If she arrested you, there was a reason." I couldn't breathe. I shook my head desperately. "Dad, I'm your daughter." He stood up. "Not today." Mom broke into sobs, reaching toward me through the glass. "Stella, sweetheart, I'll fix this. I promise I'll." But Dad grabbed her by the arm and dragged her away. Her final words echoed in my head as the guard pulled me back. "Stella, I believe you. Please hang on." The door slammed shut. And just like that, my own father had chosen who he believed, and it wasn't me. Back in the cell, I collapsed onto the cold bench. My breath came in sharp, painful bursts. How could my father turn against me so easily? Why was Olivia acting like I was a stranger? Who sent that anonymous tip? Who planted the drugs? My thoughts spiraled into darker places. Every memory, every warm Christmas, every family dinner, every childhood moment felt suddenly tainted. Were they ever real? Were we ever a real family? Or had I been the outsider all along? Hours passed. Then a guard appeared again. Court hearing is scheduled for tomorrow. Get ready. Thank you for watching as a parenting taking in the stain. Tomorrow the world would hear whether I lived or lost everything. I curled up on the metal bench, arms wrapped around myself, and as the cold sinked into my bones, one terrifying thought echoed in my skull. If my own sister and father wanted me gone, who on earth would fight for me? Not knowing that the answer was wandering the streets outside, wearing a ragged coat, waiting for the right moment to save my life. The courtroom didn't feel like a place of justice. It felt like an execution chamber wrapped in holiday decorations. Garland hung along the walls, a wreath above the doorway, but none of it made the air warmer. The place smelled like fear, sweat, and judgment. When they escorted me in wearing the gray jumpsuit, wrists loosely cuffed, a wave of whispers rippled through the crowd. That's Olivia's sister. The drug case? Poor family. I stared at the floor, wishing it would swallow me whole. Mom sat in the front row, trembling, clutching tissues in both hands. Dad sat beside her, arms crossed, jaw clenched, eyes refusing to meet mine. Olivia stood near the prosecution table in uniform, polished and perfect, like she wasn't the one who dragged me from my home just hours earlier. I felt sick. The prosecution attacks. The prosecutor, a tall woman in a black suit, rose and began her opening statement with a voice sharp enough to slice through bone. Ladies and gentlemen, today we present a clear-cut case of possession and intent to distribute narcotics. The defendant, Stella Parker, was found with substantial evidence uncovered by a trusted officer of the law. It's body. She gestured toward Olivia. Cameras flashed. People murmured. I stared at my sister, the same girl who once shared bunk beds with me, who cried when she scraped her knee, who used to sneak cookies into my room after midnight. Now she avoided my eyes, or maybe she simply didn't care. They present their evidence. Photos appeared on the large courtroom screen, all the packets found in my trunk, the packets discovered inside my jacket, Olivia's written statement, a timeline of suspicious behavior that was entirely fabricated. Each image felt like a blow to my ribs. The prosecutor's voice echoed coldly. These materials are more than enough to establish intent. My lawyer, a tired public defender who looked like he hadn't slept in days, stood up weakly. Your Honor, the anonymous tip is suspicious. Someone could have planted. The prosecutor cut him off. Objection. Conjecture. Sustained, the judge said. My lawyer sank into his chair. My stomach dropped. My turn to speak. When they finally called me to the stand, my hands shook so hard I had to grip the railing just to walk. The prosecutor approached me like a predator stalking a dying animal. Miss Parker, are you denying these items were found in your possession? Yes, someone planted them. I didn't. Do you have proof? The room fell silent. My throat tightened. No, but she smirked. No further questions. The defendant's own words speak for themselves. Laughter and whispers spread across the courtroom like venom. I swallowed hard, blinking back tears. This wasn't a trial. This was a funeral. Sentencing day arrives. 3 agonizing days passed in a blur of testimonies, cold stares, and hopelessness. Then came the moment I feared most. The judge called everyone to order. In the case of Stella Parker, my lungs seized. Mom covered her mouth, shaking violently. Dad stared ahead, stone cold. Olivia's hands were clasped neatly behind her back, expression unreadable. I gripped the edge of the table so hard my fingertips went numb. The judge lifted his gavel. This was it. My life was about to be destroyed. And then, the impossible happened. A loud, cracked voice shouted from the back. Stop! I have proof she is innocent. Everyone turned. My breath caught. My heart slammed against my ribs. Because standing at the entrance of the courtroom, in a ragged coat, unshaven, trembling, was the homeless man I had given food to just a few weeks before. Mom gasped. Olivia stiffened. Dad's face drained of color. And the man pointed right at me and shouted again. She was framed. The entire courtroom froze. Even the judge paused midair, gavel lifted but unmoving. The homeless man I once handed a warm sandwich to now stood trembling in the doorway, snow melting off his ragged coat, breath heavy, eyes burning with urgency. He pointed at me again. Stella Parker is innocent. And I can prove it. Chaos erupted. Reporters scrambled for position, cameras firing like machine guns. Mom pressed a hand to her chest, whispering through tears, "Oh God, what is happening?" Dad's face turned a sickening shade of gray. Olivia's eyes widened, not in confusion, but in fear. Real, unmistakable fear. "Restrain that man," Olivia barked, her voice cracked. Two officers moved toward him, but the homeless man held up both hands. "Touch me, and you'll be obstructing a federal witness." A gasp rippled across the room. The judge slammed his gavel. "Stop. No one moves." Silence crashed down. The homeless man stepped forward, shoulders trembling, and then he reached up, clutched his scruffy beard, and ripped it off. Gasps exploded from every direction. He wiped away grime from his cheeks, removed the battered cap, shrugged off the filthy coat. What emerged was not a homeless drifter, but a man with sharp features, piercing blue eyes, short, neatly trimmed hair, familiar eyes. Eyes I had seen only in photos growing up. I staggered back. Mom clutched the bench, nearly collapsing. Dad's lips parted soundlessly. Olivia whispered, barely audible, "No. No. This isn't possible." The judge leaned forward. "Sir, identify yourself." The man straightened. "My name is Ethan Parker. You all believed I died 10 years ago, but I'm very much alive." The courtroom exploded. My head spun. Ethan Parker. My father's younger brother. My uncle who supposedly died in a boating accident. But he was standing right in front of me. Alive. Breathing. Burning with purpose. He turned toward me, voice softening. "Stella, I'm sorry it took me this long." My knees nearly buckled. The truth begins to unravel. The judge cleared his throat, stunned. "Mr. Parker, you may present your evidence." Ethan placed a worn leather satchel on the witness table. His hands shook as he unzipped it. Inside were a USB drive, a thick stack of documents, a small black recording device, several photographs. Olivia visibly tensed. Dad wiped sweat from his forehead. Ethan raised his chin. 10 years ago, I discovered Vincent Parker. My brother was involved in a drug trafficking ring." Mom let out a strangled cry. Dad slammed his fist against the bench. "Liar!" Ethan didn't flinch. "When I confronted him, he threatened to have me killed. So I faked my death and went underground. For years I stayed hidden, watching, gathering evidence. And when I saw Olivia join him, I knew it was only a matter of time before someone innocent paid the price." My heart pounded so hard it shook my ribs. He turned toward me again. "I'm sorry, Stella, they chose you." Video evidence. The moment everything changed. Ethan plugged the USB into the courtroom projector. A video appeared. Grainy but clear enough. It showed my sister, Olivia, sneaking into our garage late at night. She opened my winter jacket, my favorite blue one, the one she pretended to borrow last week, and stuffed small plastic packets inside. My breath left my lungs. Ethan fast-forwarded. Next clip. Olivia outside by my car, looking around nervously, opening my trunk, placing more packets into a small decorative gift box, exactly where officers claimed they found them. Exactly where I never looked. Mom broke into sobs, shoulders shaking violently. I pressed a hand over my mouth. Dad stared at the screen in horror, but not because he was shocked. Because he was caught. Audio recording. The final betrayal. Ethan clicked the second file. A chilling, cold recording filled the courtroom. Dad's unmistakable voice. "Framing Stella is the cleanest way. She won't fight back. She never does. I enter in positive the mani." Then Olivia's voice. "I'll handle it. One anonymous tip is enough." The courtroom went silent, then eruptive. People yelled. Reporters scrambled. The judge slammed his gavel repeatedly. Mom let out a scream that tore the air. "Vincent, how could you do this to our child?" Dad stood, trembling. "It's fake," Ethan doctored it. "This is all a setup." Ethan held up the recording device. "This was taken by a federal investigator. Every byte has been authenticated." Dad's face drained entirely of color. Olivia's legs gave out and she sank into her chair. The final blow. Financial documents. Ethan spread out bank records and transaction sheets. Large deposits into Olivia's account. Money laundering through Dad's small business. Photos of Dad meeting with drug suppliers. Text messages between Dad and Olivia coordinating evidence disposal. The prosecutor slowly stood. Her voice shook. Your Honor, in light of this overwhelming evidence, I request the immediate arrest of Vincent Parker and Officer Olivia Parker. The judge slammed his gavel with thunderous force. Motion granted. My family collapses. Officers surged forward. Olivia thrashed, screaming, Stella ruined us. You ruined us. But the officers cuffed her hands behind her back and dragged her toward the exit. Dad didn't fight. He just stared at me. Anger, fear, and something darker twisting his expression. You were always the weak one, he hissed as they cuffed him. Always the problem. Ethan stepped between us. No, Vincent. She was the only innocent one. Dad snarled as they pulled him away. Freedom, but at what cost? When the courtroom finally settled, the judge turned to me. His voice softened. Miss Parker, you are free to go. Our deepest apologies. My breath trembled, my knees buckled, and Mom threw her arms around me, sobbing uncontrollably. My baby, I'm so sorry. Ethan placed a hand on my shoulder. Warm, steady, real. It's over, Stella. You're safe now. But even as relief washed over me, a deeper storm brewed inside. If my own father and sister could betray me this completely, what was left of the family I thought I had? The morning after the trial, the world looked different. The sky seemed too bright, the air too sharp. Everything felt unreal, like I had slipped into someone else's life. A guard opened my cell door and said softly, Parker, you're free to go. For a second, I just stared at him. Free? After everything? After the handcuffs, the humiliation, the betrayal? My legs trembled as I stepped outside the station. Snow crunched beneath my boots, and there he was. Ethan, no disguise, no ragged coat, just himself. He stood with his hands tucked in his jacket pockets, eyes glassy with exhaustion. When he saw me, he exhaled. A long breath he'd been holding for years. I didn't speak. I just ran to him and collapsed into his arms. He held me tightly, whispering, I'm sorry you suffered because I couldn't come out sooner. But I'm here now. I cried into his shoulder, my body shaking. For the first time in what felt like forever, someone held me like I mattered. Going home, or whatever was left of home, Ethan drove me back to the house I had been dragged from in handcuffs. The same lights were still hanging on the porch, but they felt wrong now, like decorations on a broken dollhouse. Mom opened the door before I even reached it. Her legs gave out when she saw me. Stella, she whispered, voice cracking like thin ice. She wrapped me in her arms, sobbing violently. I'm so sorry. I should have protected you. I should have fought harder. I held her tightly, but the truth hurt. She tried, but Dad didn't let her. Olivia didn't listen. No one listened. Just Ethan. Only Ethan. Dad's voice echoed in my head. Stella has always been the weak one. She won't fight back. The words made my stomach twist. The news spreads like wildfire. It didn't take long. By afternoon, every local news station carried the story. Officer Olivia Parker arrested for evidence tampering. Drug trafficking ring exposed. Suspects include prominent community member Vincent Parker. Wrongfully accused woman freed after courtroom bombshell. My name was everywhere. My face too. Pale, exhausted, terrified in every photo. People online wrote things like, poor girl. Imagine being betrayed by your own family. How did the sister even become a cop? I shut my laptop. I didn't want pity. I didn't want attention. I wanted my old life back. But that life was gone. The investigation deepens. Federal agents raided Dad's workshop and Olivia's locker at the police department. They uncovered stacks of cash, hidden ledgers, burners, phones, connections to a regional trafficking network. Olivia's deleted messages coordinating drops. Every hour, new details surfaced. Every hour, I felt less and less connected to the people I used to call my family. Mom collapsed into a chair when the news confirmed. Vincent Parker and Officer Olivia Parker will face multiple felony charges. Sings is a not of 8, and a speak cold in the scenes. Ethan put a hand on her shoulder. Camila, I'm sorry. I tried to warn him once. He shut me out completely. Mom shook her head, tears falling. I don't understand. How could they do this? To their own child? I didn't answer, because I no longer knew who Dad or Olivia truly were. My own mind becomes a prison. That night, lying in my old bedroom, I stared at the ceiling for hours. The room felt unfamiliar. The shadows felt heavy. I kept replaying everything. Olivia's cold eyes, Dad stepping away from Mom, the cuffs closing around my wrists, the laughter in the courtroom, the video of Olivia planting evidence, the recording of Dad saying I was the easy one to sacrifice. A knot formed in my chest. I whispered into the dark, "Why me?" And the answer came like a cruel whisper at the back of my mind, because I was the gentle one, the quiet one, the daughter who tried to keep peace, the sister who always forgave, the child who never fought back. I was the easiest to destroy. Tears slid silently down my temples. I wasn't crying because I was afraid. I wasn't crying because of the public humiliation. I was crying because the people who were supposed to love me chose to ruin me. Ethan's promise. Around midnight, a soft knock came at my door. Ethan peeked in. Couldn't sleep? I shook my head. He sat on the edge of the bed, hands clasped. "Stella, I want you to know something." His voice was steady, warm, anchoring. "You weren't weak. You were targeted because you're good. And good people are dangerous to bad ones." A tear slipped down my cheek. He continued, "I'm not going anywhere. You're not alone anymore." And for a moment, just a moment, the darkness lifted. Weeks passed. Slowly, the media storm quieted. Reporters stopped camping outside our porch. The headlines moved on to newer scandals. But inside me, nothing had quieted. No matter how many nights I slept in my own bed, I still woke up gasping, heart pounding, convinced someone was opening the door to throw cuffs on me again. Sometimes I heard Olivia's voice echoing in my mind. "Confess, Stella." Sometimes I saw Dad's cold expression as he said, "You've always been weak." Ethan tried to help however he could. Late-night talks, long drives to nowhere, letting me cry without asking me to stop. Mom tried too, cooking my favorite meals, leaving soft notes on my pillow, holding me when memories cut too deep. But healing felt like learning how to walk again. After someone shattered every bone in your legs. The decision to visit them. One morning, while Ethan and I were reviewing documents for his upcoming testimony in Dad's trial, I suddenly said, "I want to see them." He paused. "Stella, you don't owe them anything." My voice trembled. "I know. But I need closure. I need the truth from their mouths." Ethan studied me carefully, then nodded. "If that's what you need, I'll take you." Mom hesitated at first, but finally whispered, "Maybe seeing what they've become will help you let go." And so, 2 weeks later, we drove to the federal detention facility, a gray beast of concrete and razor wire. Snow fell in slow, heavy flakes. The sky was the color of bruised steel. I clenched my fists the entire walk to the visitation area, seeing my sister again. They brought Olivia out first. She looked smaller, her uniform replaced by an orange jumpsuit. Her confident posture wilted, but her eyes, those cold, sharp eyes, they were the same. She sat across the thick glass, picked up the phone. I did the same. Silence hung between us like a noose. Finally, she spoke. "You ruined everything." My stomach twisted. "Olivia, you framed me." Her jaw clenched. "If you'd just confessed, Dad and I would have had time to fix things. But you fought back. You made it worse." I stared at her, stunned. "You nearly destroyed my life." Her voice was flat. It was supposed to be quick. "You were supposed to take the blame and move on." My blood ran cold. "Why me? Why not take responsibility yourselves?" She looked away, then whispered, "Because Dad said you were the weakest link, the easiest to sacrifice." Something inside me snapped. Not anger, not sorrow. Something cleaner, sharper, clarity. I pressed the receiver harder against my ear. "Olivia, listen carefully. I forgive you, but you will never be part of my life again." She blinked, startled. "What? You can't do." I set the phone down. Her voice echoed behind the glass as I stood. I didn't look back, facing my father. Then they brought Dad in. He walked with the same arrogant posture, as if prison was an inconvenience, not a consequence. He sat. He picked up the phone. I waited. He spoke first. "So, you're here to gloat?" I stared at him, exhausted. "I'm here for answers." He snorted. "I did what I had to do. Your sister is strong. You are not. You would have broken eventually, confessed, taken the fall." I cut him off, voice dead calm. "You never loved me." He stiffened. For the first time, something flickered in his eyes. Not guilt. Not shame. Annoyance. He leaned closer to the glass. "Ugh, love makes people weak." I raised Olivia to survive. You? You were always too soft. My throat burned. But I didn't cry. Not this time. I spoke softly, letting every word slice free from my chest. Dad, that softness? The one you hated? It saved me. It exposed you. And it's why you're sitting there. And I'm walking out. He clenched his jaw. You'll regret turning on your own family. I shook my head. You stopped being my family the day you chose to destroy me. I gently lowered the receiver. Dad slammed his fist on the glass as I stood. But I didn't jump. I wasn't that scared girl anymore. I walked out without looking back, and the echo of my footsteps felt like chains falling away. A new kind of strength. Outside, Mom hugged me tightly. Ethan placed a hand on my shoulder. You did it, he murmured. And something shifted inside me. The betrayal was still there. The scars too. But for the first time, the pain wasn't crushing me. I realized I wasn't weak. I had never been weak. I survived what was designed to break me. And I was still standing. The beginning of a new life. In the weeks that followed, Ethan and I officially opened our investigative agency, Parker and Parker Justice Solutions. We helped wrongfully accused people, families torn apart by abuse of power, people just like me. Every victory stitched another piece of my heart back together. Mom moved in with me. Ethan visited daily. We rebuilt a home from the ashes of the old one. And slowly, I felt hope again. The kind of hope I thought I had lost forever on that snowy Christmas Eve. 1 year later, snow fell exactly the same way it did on the night my world collapsed. Soft, silent, beautiful, but everything else was different. My home wasn't filled with fear anymore. It was warm, bright with golden lights, cinnamon candles, quiet laughter. Ethan was in the living room hanging ornaments on the tree, humming terribly off-key. Mom was in the kitchen rolling out gingerbread dough, flour dusting her nose. And Michael, my boyfriend, set the dining table while sneaking cookies when he thought no one was watching. For the first time in years, I felt safe. I felt whole. A new kind of Christmas Eve. We gathered around the table just as the snow outside thickened. Mom handed me a plate and said softly, "Last Christmas Eve, I thought I lost you forever." I squeezed her hand. "You didn't lose me. I found myself." Ethan raised his glass. "To Stella, the strongest Parker in this family?" I laughed, rolling my eyes. "I am not the strongest." He shook his head. "You walked through hell wearing your heart on your sleeve. That takes strength most people don't have." Mom nodded, tears in her eyes. "You saved us, sweetheart. And you're helping save others now." The room fell into a warm hush. The kind that makes you breathe a little deeper. The kind that feels like healing. A new family formed from the ashes. We clinked glasses. Later, while everyone chatted, I stepped toward the window. Snow drifted under the glow of the streetlights, slow and peaceful. Exactly like last year, but the fear that once clung to my ribs wasn't there anymore. Instead, I felt gratitude blooming where wounds used to be. Ethan joined me quietly. "Thinking about them?" he asked. He didn't need to say their names. "Dad, Olivia," I nodded. A part of me still wishes they had chosen differently. Ethan sighed. "People choose who they are, Stella. You chose compassion. They chose destruction." I leaned into his shoulder. "Do you think I'll ever stop feeling broken?" He smiled softly. "You're not broken. You're rebuilding." And he was right. Every client we helped through our agency, every wrongfully accused person we freed, every truth we uncovered, it stitched another piece of me back together, closing the circle. When it was time to open presents, Mom handed me a small box. Inside was a simple silver bracelet with a tiny engraved charm. "A phoenix," she whispered. "For the daughter who rose again." Tears filled my eyes. Not heavy, painful tears, but warm ones, healing ones. I pulled her into a hug, whispering, "Thank you for never giving up on me." My Christmas toast. Later, with everyone gathered and the fire crackling, I stood up with my glass. The room quieted. I took a breath. Last Christmas Eve, I thought my life was ending. But it was only beginning. Because sometimes, life has to break you, so you can rebuild yourself with stronger pieces. Ethan raised his glass. Mom smiled through tears. Michael squeezed my hand. I continued. "We don't choose the family we're born into, but we do choose the family we keep. And you all, you're the family I choose." Silence. Then soft applause. Laughter. Warmth. The kind of warmth I had once believed I'd never feel again. A Christmas of peace. As midnight approached, snow blanketed the world outside. Quiet, pure, forgiving. I wrapped a blanket around my shoulders and stepped onto the porch. The cold bit at my cheeks, but the glow from inside kept me warm. I whispered into the still night, "I survived. I am free. I am loved." And for the first time since everything happened, I believed it. Truly believed it. Christmas Eve had once been the night I lost everything. Now, it was the night I finally gained everything that mattered. A real family, a real purpose, a real future, and a heart strong enough to hold it all.